The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with light and celebration. Representatives from 100 different species raised their glasses and cheered. They were celebrating 1,000 years of peace across the galaxy. No major wars. No great conflicts. The universe was safe and prosperous. But in a dark room on Earth, Commander Elena Vasquez knew the truth. She sat at a metal table surrounded by holographic screens showing classified information. The galaxy was not at peace. It had never been at peace. For the last 50 years, humanity had been fighting a secret war against an enemy that no other species believed existed. Elena looked at her team. There were 12 of them, all humans, all trained for missions that would never appear in any official record. They called themselves the Veil Division. Their job was to protect the galaxy from something called the Hollows. "We have confirmation," Elena said, her voice calm but serious. "A Hollow scout ship was detected near the Andromeda Rift 3 hours ago. We need to intercept it before it reaches populated space." A young officer named Marcus raised his hand. "Commander, do we have any support from the Council this time?" Elena shook her head. "The Council still thinks we are paranoid. They refuse to even look at our evidence. We are on our own, as always." This was nothing new. Humanity had joined the Galactic Union only 80 years ago. To the older species, humans were newcomers. Children playing at being civilized. When humans first warned the Council about the Hollows, the representatives had laughed. They called it human superstition, fear of shadows, but the Hollows were very real. Elena pulled up a holographic image. It showed a creature that looked almost normal at first glance. It had the body of a Valorian diplomat, tall and covered in blue scales. But something was wrong with it. The eyes were empty. The movements were slightly off, like a puppet being controlled by invisible strings. "For those of you who are new to Veil Division," Elena said, "this is what we are fighting. The Hollows are parasites from another dimension. They do not invade planets with armies. They do not burn cities. They do something much worse. They replace people." She changed the image to show the process. A Hollow would find a target, usually someone important. A politician, a military leader, a scientist. Then it would copy them perfectly. Same memories, same voice, same face. The original person would be consumed, and the Hollow would take their place. "They have been doing this for millions of years," Elena continued. "Entire civilizations have fallen without ever knowing they were conquered. The Hollows eat them from the inside, one leader at a time, until there is nothing left but hollow shells following hollow commands." The room was silent. Even after all their training, the reality of what they faced was terrifying. Elena understood their fear. She remembered when she first learned the truth. She was just a lieutenant then, assigned to investigate strange reports from a small town in Argentina. A little girl had called the police, crying that her father was not her father anymore. He looked the same. He sounded the same. But the girl knew something was wrong. When Elena arrived, she felt it too. Standing in front of the man who was supposed to be Carlos Mendez, she felt a deep wrongness in her gut. Her brain screamed that this thing was not human, even though her eyes saw nothing unusual. That was humanity's gift. That was why they could fight this war when no other species could. Humans had evolved with something called the uncanny valley response. It was an ancient survival instinct that made them uncomfortable when something looked almost human but was not quite right. This instinct could detect hollows. Other species did not have this. To them, a hollow duplicate was perfect, undetectable. But humans could feel the difference. They could sense the emptiness behind the copied eyes. The mission to the Andromeda Rift was successful. Elena led her team through the darkness of space, boarded the hollow scout ship, and captured it before the creatures inside could escape. But what they found in the ship's database made Elena's blood run cold. "Commander," said her technical specialist, a woman named Yuki, "you need to see this." The holographic display showed plans. Detailed plans. The Hollows were preparing their largest operation in centuries. They called it the Great Silencing. Their target was the Galactic Council itself. Elena studied the data with growing horror. The Hollows had been patient. So very patient. For decades, they had been placing their duplicates in positions of power across the galaxy. And now, according to these plans, They were ready to make their final move. "How bad is it?" Marcus asked. Alina did not answer immediately. She was counting. The plans showed infiltration reports from all 12 species represented on the council. 3 of them were marked as fully compromised. 3 entire species, their leadership completely replaced by hollow duplicates. 3 council species, Alina finally said. The Valorians, the Kreth Collective, the Mandari Empire. Their top officials are already hollows. Maybe hundreds of them. Maybe thousands.
Ow!
The team stared at her in shock. These were powerful species. The Valorians had the largest fleet in the galaxy. The Kreth controlled most of the trade routes. The Mindari were famous for their advanced technology. If all 3 were compromised, the Hollows controlled nearly half of the galaxy's power. "There is more," Yuki said quietly. She pointed to a section of the data that made Elena's heart stop. It was a surveillance report. Images of human ships, human bases, human agents. The Hollows had been watching the Veil Division for years. They knew about Earth's secret war. They knew that humans could see through their disguises, and they had decided that humanity needed to be eliminated. Elena closed her eyes and took a deep breath. For 50 years, humanity had fought in the shadows, protecting a galaxy that did not even believe they needed protection. Now the shadows were fighting back. She opened her eyes and looked at her team. They were scared. She was scared too. But they were also determined. They were human. They did not give up. "Send a priority message to Earth Command," Elena ordered. "Tell them the Hollows know about us. Tell them war is coming. A war the galaxy cannot see, but will not survive unless we win it." As her team rushed to follow her orders, Elena looked out the viewport at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, an ancient evil was preparing to consume everything, and only humanity stood in its way. The secret war was about to become much more dangerous. But Elena knew one thing for certain. Humanity would not stop fighting. Not until the last hollow was destroyed. Not until the galaxy was truly safe, even if no one ever knew what they had done. The explosion killed 3,000 people. It happened on Valoria Prime, the capital world of the Valorian species. A human cargo ship crashed into a crowded marketplace during a religious festival. The destruction was massive. The evidence was clear. It was a deliberate attack. Within hours, the galaxy turned against humanity. Elena watched the news reports from her command. Center on Earth. Every channel showed the same images. Burning buildings. Grieving families. Angry crowds demanding justice. And everywhere, the same message repeated again and again. Humans were terrorists. Humans were murderers. Humans could not be trusted. But Elena knew the truth. The cargo ship had been hijacked by hollow agents. The pilot, a woman named Sarah Chen, had been replaced by a duplicate months ago. The real Sarah was dead, consumed by the creature that now wore her face, and had flown her ship into those innocent people. The Hollows had made their move. They could not defeat humanity in a direct fight, so they were using a different weapon. They were using lies. 6 species have officially cut diplomatic ties with Earth, reported Ambassador Kofi Okonkwo. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. For 30 years he had worked to build friendships between humanity and other species. Now he watched those friendships crumble in a single day. The Valorians are demanding we surrender the terrorists responsible. When we cannot produce them, they will have an excuse for war. Elena slammed her fist on the table. We have evidence. We have recordings from our scout ship showing the hollow plans. Why will no one listen? Kofi sighed. Because they do not want to believe. It is easier to hate humans than to accept that their own leaders might be monsters wearing familiar faces. Fear of the unknown is powerful. Fear of an enemy they can see and blame is simpler. He was right, and Elena knew it. The galaxy was not ready for the truth. Maybe it would never be ready, but she could not give up. None of them could. Then we fight 2 wars, Elena decided. You handle the diplomacy, Ambassador. Find species who might still listen. Build back-channel connections. I will continue the Shadow War. We will prove the hollows exist, even if we have to drag the evidence into the council chamber ourselves. The next months were the hardest of Elena's life. Her team worked without rest, tracking hollow movements across the galaxy. They developed new technology, including something called a resonance emitter. It was a small device that projected a specific frequency of light. When aimed at a hollow duplicate, would briefly reveal the creature's true form beneath the copied skin. The true form was horrible. Elena had seen it once during testing. Beneath the mask of stolen flesh, a hollow was a twisted thing of angles and emptiness. It had no real body, just a shape made of shadows that hurt to look at. No wonder they hid behind copied faces. Their true appearance would drive most beings mad. Armed with this new weapon, Elena planned a dangerous mission. They would infiltrate Valoria Prime itself, one of the 3 compromised species. They would capture undeniable proof of hollow infiltration and broadcast it to the galaxy. Her team for this mission represented everything good about humanity. There was Marcus from NewYork.com and steady under pressure. Yuki from Tokyo, brilliant with technology. Ahmed from Cairo, the best pilot Elena had ever seen. Rosa from Mexico City, who could talk her way past any security, and 6 others, each bringing unique skills from their home nations. This was what Elena loved about her species. Humans came from different places, spoke different languages, and believed different things. But when facing a common enemy, they came together as one. Their diversity was their strength. The infiltration began well. Rosa used forged credentials to get them past the orbital checkpoints. Ahmed landed their ship in an abandoned industrial zone. The team moved through the underground tunnels of the Valorian capital. Heading toward the Hall of Ministers where the highest officials gathered, they reached a balcony overlooking the main chamber. Below them, dozens of Valorian leaders discussed trade agreements and military budgets. Normal political business. Nothing suspicious. Then Elena activated the resonance emitter. The effect was immediate. Scattered throughout the chamber, 7 Valorian officials flickered. Their scaled skin became transparent for just a moment, revealing the shadow things beneath. 7 out of 40 ministers? Nearly 20% of the Valorian government were hollow duplicates. Yuki recorded everything. "We have proof," she whispered excitedly, but their excitement did not last long. Alarms began screaming throughout the building. Somehow, the hollows had detected the resonance emitter. Armed guards flooded the corridors. "Move," Elena ordered. Back to the ship. They ran through the tunnels, fighting their way past Valorian security forces who thought they were chasing terrorists. Elena tried not to hurt them. These soldiers were innocent. They were just following orders from leaders they did not know were monsters. They almost made it at the entrance to the industrial zone. A figure stepped out of the shadows. It looked like a Valorian general, tall and decorated with military honors. But Elena felt the wrongness immediately. "This was no Valorian, Commander Vasquez," the hollow said. Its voice was smooth but empty, like wind blowing through a hollow tree. "We have been watching you for a very long time." Elena raised her weapon, but the creature did not seem concerned. "Your species is fascinating," it continued. "In 1,000,000 years, across 1,000,000,000 worlds, you are the only ones who could ever see us. The only ones whose minds could pierce our disguise. Do you know how annoying that is?" "I am happy to annoy you," Elena replied. The hollow's copied face twisted into something that was not quite a smile. "We have consumed civilizations older than your entire planet. Species that built empires spanning galaxies. And we did it without them ever knowing we existed. But you humans, with your primitive brains and your paranoid instincts, you saw us from the beginning." More guards were approaching. Elena knew they needed to leave, but she also needed information. "Why tell me this?" she asked. "Because it does not matter anymore," the hollow answered. "You have your proof, your little recording. But who will believe it? We control the narrative now. And soon, we will control everything." The creature stepped back into the shadows and disappeared. Elena and her team escaped, barely. They returned to Earth with their evidence, hoping it would change everything. It did not. 3 days later, Every major news channel in the galaxy broadcast the same message. A figure claiming to be a hollow leader appeared on screen, but instead of admitting to infiltration and conquest, it told a different story. It claimed that hollows were an ancient, peaceful species, being hunted by aggressive humans. It said humanity had been secretly attacking hollow worlds for decades. It called for all species to unite against the human threat. The message was filled with lies, but the galaxy believed it. Within a week, 7 species declared war on Earth. Humanity now faced destruction from enemies they had once called friends. While still fighting an invisible war against creatures no one else could see, Alina stood at her command center. Watching human colonies burn on distant worlds, she had dedicated her life to protecting the galaxy. Now the galaxy wanted her species dead, but giving up was not an option. It was never an option. "Ambassador Okonkwo," she said into her communicator, "I have a new plan. It is dangerous and probably impossible, but it might be our only chance. Out." On the other end of the line, Kofi's voice was tired but determined. "I am listening." Lena looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the hollows were celebrating. They thought they had one. They were wrong. Earth burned in the night sky above a dozen worlds. Human colonies that had taken generations to build were destroyed in hours. Ships carrying millions of refugees fled toward the home planet. Chased by fleets from species that had once been allies, Commander Alina Vasquez stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, watching the destruction unfold on tactical displays. Every red dot represented a battle. Every flashing alert meant more human lives lost. The galaxy had decided that humanity needed to die, and they were making it happen with terrible efficiency. "Commander," said Marcus, his voice heavy with exhaustion, "New Detroit has fallen. Survivors are being evacuated to the Tau Ceti convoy." Lena nodded. New Detroit was home to 8 million people. It had universities, hospitals, families who had lived there for generations. Now it was rubble. "How many did we save?" she asked. "About 6 million. The Valorian fleet arrived faster than expected. 6 million saved. 2 million lost." Alina added the number to the terrible count in her mind. The war had been going on for 3 months. So far, humanity had lost 40 million people. And it was only getting worse. On the Galactic Council, the vote had been nearly unanimous. Only the Thesan Federation and the Crix Unity had refused to join the war against humanity. The other species had authorized complete destruction. Genocide. The word was never spoken aloud. But everyone knew what was happening. Ambassador Okonkwo appeared on Elena's screen. He looked like he had not slept in weeks. "The emergency session is over," he reported. "Our evidence was rejected again. The compromised council members called it human propaganda and threatened to expel the Thesan and Crix ambassadors for supporting us. So diplomacy has failed," Alina said. "Diplomacy has failed," Kofi agreed. "But I may have found another way. There is a Valorian military commander named Vexal. She has fought alongside human soldiers before, during the Frontier Rebellion 15 years ago. She respected us then. I believe she might still respect us now." Alina remembered Vexal. The Valorian woman was tough, honorable, and intelligent. If anyone from a compromised species might listen to the truth, it would be her. "Can you arrange a meeting?" Alina asked. "Already done. She will meet you at neutral coordinates in the Vega system." "But Alina, be careful. This could be a trap." Alina smiled grimly. "Everything is a trap these days. But we have no choice." The meeting happened in the cargo hold of a damaged freighter, far from any inhabited world. Alina brought only Yuki and Marcus. The soul arrived alone, which showed either great courage or great foolishness. Perhaps both. The Valorian commander was tall, covered in blue scales that shimmered in the dim light. Her 4 eyes studied Alina with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "You wanted to talk," Dexel said. "So talk. Convince me why I should not arrest you right now and deliver you to the council for execution." Lena took a deep breath. "Because you know something is wrong. You have felt it for years. Leaders making strange decisions. Friends acting differently. a growing darkness in your government that you cannot explain. Thexal's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of stress. Many things are wrong in wartime. That proves nothing. Then let me show you proof. Alina held up the resonance emitter. This device will let you see what we see. It will show you the truth that your senses cannot detect. If I am lying, you lose nothing. But if I am telling the truth, you will understand why we fight. Saul hesitated. Her military training screamed that this was a trick, but something deeper, some instinct she could not name, told her to listen. Very well, she said. Show me. Alina activated the device. The frequency of light filled the room, invisible to human eyes, but calibrated for Valorian perception. And then the Exal saw. The Valorian commander gasped and stumbled backward. In the corner of the room, a shadow moved. It had not been there before, or rather it had always been there, but hidden. Through the resonance light, the Exal could see its true form, a twisted thing of angles and emptiness, feeding on the energy of living beings nearby. That is a scanner echo, Alina explained quickly. A shadow left by a hollow that passed through this area recently. They leave traces everywhere they go. Normally, only humans can sense them. The soul's 4 eyes were wide with horror. I have seen things like this before. In dreams, nightmares that I thought meant nothing. Your subconscious knew, Alina said. Deep down, some part of you could feel them. But your conscious mind could not process what it was seeing. The Valorian commander stood silent for a long moment. Her entire understanding of reality was crumbling. Everything she had believed about the war, about humanity, about her own government, was a lie. How many? She finally asked. How many of my people have been replaced? We do not know exactly. At least 7 ministers that we confirmed. Probably hundreds more in lower positions. Infiltration has been going on for decades. The Exal made a sound that was half rage and half grief. My brother serves on the Ministers' Council. Spoke with him last month. He seemed normal. Was it really him? Alina could not answer that question. No one could. I want to help, the Exal said. Tell me what to do. This was the opportunity Alina had been praying for. One believer among the enemy species. One ally who could spread the truth. We need to build a network, Alina explained. Find others like you, soldiers, scientists, citizens, who sense that something is wrong. Use the resonance technology to show them the truth. When enough people know, we can force the council to listen. Exal nodded. It will be dangerous. If the Hollows discover what we are doing, they will kill everyone involved. Yes, Alina agreed. They will, but the alternative is worse. If we do not act, the Hollows will consume every civilization in the galaxy. Everyone will die anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. The network grew slowly. The Sol recruited carefully, choosing only those she trusted completely. Within weeks they had believers among the Valorians, the Kreth, even the Mindari. Each one had felt the wrongness. Each one was willing to risk everything for the truth. But time was running out. Alina received a message from an unexpected source. It came through channels that should not exist, encrypted with codes that had been forgotten for millennia. The sender identified themselves as the Old Ones. We have watched the Hollows for longer than your species has existed, the message said. We have seen them consume thousands of civilizations. We never intervened because no organic species could fight them. But you humans are different. You can see them. And now we will help you. The coordinates led to an ancient station hidden in the dark space between galaxies. There, Alina met the Old Ones. They were artificial intelligences created by a species that had died millions of years ago. They had survived by hiding, watching, waiting for someone who could finally fight back. The Hollows are not many, the Old Ones explained. They are one. A single vast consciousness existing in a parallel dimension. Every duplicate you see is just a finger of the same hand. Destroy the source, and all Hollows die. Alina felt hope for the first time in months. How do we destroy the source? A gateway must be opened to their dimension. But the gateway requires focus. The perception of millions who can see them. Only humans have this ability. And then, the Old Ones paused. Then someone must enter their dimension, and destroy them from within. It is a one-way journey. Their dimension is nightmare made real. No organic being has ever returned. Elena stared at the ancient machines. They were offering victory, but at an impossible price. Still, it was more than humanity had before. "How long do we have?" she asked. 72 hours, the old ones answered. The Hollows are preparing what they call the Great Silencing. They will consume every leader in the galaxy simultaneously. After that, there will be no one left to fight. 72 hours to save the galaxy. 72 hours to unite a galaxy that wanted them dead. 72 hours to prepare for a sacrifice that would cost everything. Elena closed her eyes and thought of Earth, her home, her species. The billions of humans who had never asked for this war but would fight it anyway. "We need to do," she said. The countdown had begun. 72 hours. That was all the time humanity had to save a galaxy that wanted them dead. Elena had never faced odds this impossible. But impossible was what humans did best. The plan was desperate and complicated. First, they needed to show every species the truth about the Hollows. Not just a few believers, but billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Second, they needed those billions to focus their perception together, creating a gateway to the Hollow dimension. Third, someone had to enter that dimension and destroy the source of all Hollows. Elena divided the tasks among her team. Ambassador Okonkwo would handle the mass revelation. Daxal would coordinate with the underground network, and Elena would prepare for the final mission. "The Neuralink technology is ready," Yuki reported. "We've modified it to work with most galactic species. When activated, it will temporarily share human perception with anyone connected." This was the key to everything. For one brief moment, the galaxy would see through human eyes. They would feel what humans felt when looking at a hollow duplicate. They would understand the wrongness, the emptiness, the horror that had haunted humanity for 50 years. But delivering this experience to billions of people required something massive. They needed to hijack the Galactic Council's communication network, the largest broadcast system in the known universe. "The Hollows control the Council," Marcus pointed out. "They will never let us access the broadcast system. They will not have a choice," Okonkwo replied. He pulled up schematics of the Council headquarters. "The broadcast center has a backup system that activates during emergencies. If we create a big enough emergency, the backup goes live automatically. And the backup system is in a section of the building that the Hollows have not fully infiltrated." "What kind of emergency?" Elena asked. Okonkwo smiled grimly. "The kind that involves a human fleet appearing in Council space." It was madness. The human fleet was outnumbered 100 to 1. Sending ships to Council space would be suicide. But it would also be exactly the distraction they needed. Over the next 20 hours, humanity prepared for its greatest moment. Every surviving warship gathered near Earth. Civilian vessels were converted into fighters. Even old museum ships were brought back to life. Anyone who could pilot joined the fleet. Elena addressed them all through a broadcast of her own. "You know what we are facing?" she said. "The galaxy has turned against us because of lies spread by an enemy they cannot see. Today, we will show them the truth. Some of us will not survive. But those who fall will die, knowing that they saved not just humanity, but every species in the galaxy. This is what we do. This is who we are. Fight for others, even when they hate us for it." The fleet launched. Thousands of human ships streaking through hyperspace toward the heart of galactic civilization. The Council detected them immediately. Alerts screamed across every military frequency. The attacking fleets that had been destroying human colonies turned and raced back to defend the Council. This was exactly what Elena had planned. While the galaxy focused on the human fleet, Okonkwo and his team infiltrated the Council building. Dexal and her network created diversions, starting fires and triggering false alarms. In the chaos, no one noticed a small group of humans making their way to the backup broadcast center. "We are in position," Okonkwo reported. "Ready to transmit on your signal?" Elena watched the tactical display. Her fleet was engaging the defenders now. Human ships were dying by the hundreds, but they were buying precious time. "Do it," she ordered. The broadcast went live. Across the galaxy, every screen, every hologram, every communication device showed the same thing. A neural link connection that flooded viewers with human perception, and then the resonance pulse activated. Billions of beings suddenly saw the truth. In every government building, every military base, every city center, the hollows were revealed. Copied faces flickered, showing the twisted shadows beneath. Empty eyes glowed with ancient hunger. Monsters that had hidden among them for decades stood exposed. The reaction was chaos. On Valoria Prime, citizens screamed as their beloved minister's face melted away to show the horror beneath. On Kreth Homeworld, general who had ordered attacks against humans was torn apart by his own soldiers when they saw what he really was. On Mindary stations, scientists who had worked alongside hollow duplicates for years finally understood why they had always felt uneasy. The attacking fleet stopped. Commanders who had been ready to destroy humanity hesitated as their own crews discovered infiltrators among them. Ships turned against each other. The careful order of the galactic military collapsed. "It is working," Marcus shouted. "They are seeing them." But the hollows were not finished. Across the galaxy, the exposed duplicates stopped pretending. They dropped their disguises completely, revealing their true forms, and they attacked. The creatures were terrifying in their natural state. They moved like liquid shadows, passing through walls and weapons. They fed on the life energy of anyone they touched, leaving behind empty husks. The galaxy had never faced anything like this, but now they knew. Now they could fight. Dexel rallied the Valorian military. Newly awakened believers among every species organized resistance. The underground network became an army. For the first time in millions of years, the hollows faced enemies who could see them, who understood them, who refused to be consumed quietly. Messages flooded human communication channels. Species that had been trying to destroy humanity hours ago were now asking for alliance. Forgiveness. Help. Alina did not have time for politics. She was preparing for the final mission. "The gateway is forming," Yuki reported. "The focused perception of billions is creating a weak point in dimensional space. But someone needs to physically enter the hollow dimension to plant the resonance bomb." The bomb was a device created by the old ones. It would amplify the resonance frequency to impossible levels, destroying the hollow consciousness from within. But it needed to be activated at the source. Someone had to carry it into Nightmare itself. "I will go," Elena said. Her team immediately protested. Marcus stepped forward. "Commander, you are too important." "Let me go instead." "Or me," said Yuki. "Or me," said Amit. One by one, every member of Veil Division volunteered. Every single one was ready to die, so their commander could live. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. This was humanity. Not the technology or the military power. This willingness to sacrifice for each other. This love that no hollow could ever understand or copy. "We go together," she decided. 12 of us, just like always. If this is our last mission, we face it as a team. The gateway opened above Earth. It was a tear in reality itself, a wound in space that led to somewhere else. Through it, Elena could see the hollow dimension. It was a place of twisted geometry and impossible colors. A realm where sanity went to die. The newly allied fleet formed a defensive perimeter around. Earth Valorian ships flew alongside human vessels. Kreth cruisers protected Mindary stations. The galaxy had finally united, just in time to watch 12 humans walk into hell. Commander Vasquez, Thexal's voice came through the communication channel. "Whatever happens, know that we believe in you. Humanity has earned the respect of every species in this galaxy today." Elena smiled. "Hold the line, Commander. We will be back." She did not know if that was true. But humans were never very good at accepting impossible odds. The 12 members of Veil Division stepped through the gateway. Behind them, the galaxy held its breath. Ahead of them, Cain Ancient Evil waited. The final battle had begun. The hollow dimension was worse than anything Elena had imagined. It was not a place in any normal sense. It was a wound in reality, a space where the rules of existence had been twisted until they screamed. The 12 humans stood together. On ground that was not solid, Above them, the sky shifted between colors that had no names. In the distance, shapes moved that hurt to look at directly. The air itself felt hungry. "Stay close," Alina ordered. "Our perception is our shield here. As long as we stay together, we can push through their influence." The team moved forward. Human willpower against dimensional horror. Each step was a battle. The hollow dimension pushed against their minds, trying to convince them that up was down, that their friends were enemies, that they should just give up and let the darkness consume them. But humans were stubborn creatures. They had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them constantly. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. A little dimensional horror was not going to stop them now. As they traveled deeper, they began to see the truth of what the hollows really were. Floating in the twisted space around them were echoes, memories, the fading ghosts of civilizations that had been consumed over millions of years. Alina saw cities that had stood for 10,000 years, now existing only as shadows. She saw species she had never heard of, their entire histories reduced to whispers in the dark. The hollows had not just killed these civilizations, they had eaten their very existence, leaving nothing but these sad traces. "How many?" Marcus whispered. "How many have they consumed?" The answer came from the dimension itself, a voice that was not a voice, speaking directly into their minds. Billions of species, trillions of worlds, countless lives stretching back to the beginning of time. All of them are part of us now. All of them feed us. And soon, your galaxy will join them. The Hollow Prime appeared before them. It was massive, a being of pure darkness that stretched in all directions. It had no real form, just a presence that seemed to fill the entire dimension. Looking at it, Alina understood that every hollow duplicate she had ever fought was just a tiny fragment of this thing, a finger of a hand that could crush stars. "You are brave," the Hollow Prime said. "Foolish, but brave. No organic species has ever entered our home dimension. You are the first. You will also be the last." Alina held up the resonance bomb. "This ends now. Your feeding is over." The Hollow Prime made a sound that might have been laughter. "You cannot win. Even if you destroy me, you will never leave this place. Your bodies will be trapped here forever. Your minds will become part of me. In the end, humanity will feed us just like all the others." "Maybe," Alina admitted. "But at least we will take you with us." She moved to activate the bomb. But the Hollow Prime was faster. Tendrils of darkness shot out, grabbing Elena's team members and pulling them into the void. Marcus was the first to fall. He fought with everything he had, firing his weapon into the darkness even as it consumed him. "Go, Commander. Finish it." Yuki was next, then Ahmed, then Rosa. One by one, Elena's team sacrificed themselves to give her a few more seconds. They did not scream. They did not beg. They just kept fighting until the very end. Elena ran. She ran through the nightmare dimension with tears streaming down her face and the resonance bomb clutched in her hands. Behind her, the Hollow Prime gathered itself for a final attack. "You humans are strange," it said. "You sacrifice yourselves for others. You fight when victory is impossible. You love even knowing that love ends in pain. We have consumed species far more powerful than you, but none of them ever confused us the way you do." Alina reached the center of the dimension. Here, the Hollow Prime's true core pulsed with stolen life energy. Millions of years of consumed civilizations flowing through it like blood through a heart. "You want to know why we fight?" Elena asked. "It is because of love. Love for our team. Love for our species. Love for a galaxy that does not even know we exist. That is something you could never copy, never consume, never understand." She activated the bomb. The resonance frequency exploded outward. The Hollow Prime screamed as its very existence began to tear apart. The consumed civilizations trapped within it finally found release, their echoes fading away into peace. Elena closed her eyes. She had done it. The Hollows were dying. The galaxy was saved. She waited for death. Instead, she felt something grab her. a mechanical hand pulling her backward through the collapsing dimension. She opened her eyes to see a rescue probe designed by the old ones, modified by the XLS engineers, and piloted by a human AI that had volunteered for the suicide mission of entering the hollow dimension to retrieve survivors. "You did not think we would let you die alone, did you?" This voice came through the probe's speakers. "Humanity taught us something today. You taught us that we do not abandon our friends. We are trying to learn that lesson." Alina was pulled back through the gateway just as the hollow dimension collapsed behind her. She emerged above Earth, surrounded by the Allied fleet. Across the galaxy, billions watched as the woman who had saved them all returned from the impossible. In every corner of civilized space, holoduplicates simply dissolved. The copied faces melted away, the shadow forms evaporated, and the ancient parasites that had threatened all life simply ceased to exist. The great silencing had been silenced. 3 weeks later, Lena stood in a garden on Earth. She was still recovering from wounds that should have been fatal. Doctors said it was a miracle she survived it all. Alina knew it was not a miracle. It was stubbornness. It was humanity's refusal to give up. Around her stood representatives from every species in the galaxy. Valorians and Kreth and Mindari, Thesons and Krix, and dozens of others. They had come to Earth for a ceremony that had never happened before in galactic history. A memorial was being dedicated. It listed every human who had died in the 50-year Shadow War. Veil Division agents who had fought in secret, soldiers who had defended colonies against former allies, civilians who had died in attacks based on hollow lies. The names went on and on. Ambassador Kofi Okonkwo stood at the podium. He looked older than his years, worn down by everything he had witnessed, but his voice was strong. For 50 years, humanity fought a war the galaxy never saw coming. We fought against an enemy no one believed existed. We fought for species who hated us, blamed us, tried to destroy us. We fought because it was the right thing to do. Paused, looking at the memorial. We never wanted recognition. We never wanted glory. We only wanted everyone to survive. That is who we are. That is what humanity means. Dexal stepped forward. The Valorian commander, who had been one of the first to believe now, spoke for the United Galaxy. "We owe you a debt we can never repay," she said to Alina and the other surviving members of Veil Division. "You saw what we could not see. You fought what we could not fight. You saved us from an enemy we refused to believe existed. From this day forward, humanity will never stand alone again." The galaxy had finally learned the lesson that humans had always known. Some battles had to be fought in darkness so others could live in light. Some sacrifices had to be made without hope of recognition. Alina looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, her team was watching. Marcus, Yuki, Ahmed, Rosa, and all the others who had given everything. They had won a victory that would echo through eternity. The war the galaxy never saw coming was over, and humanity, as always, had triumphed. Not through superior weapons or technology, not through conquest or domination, but through something much simpler and much more powerful: